We are back with this Fox News alert and the latest piece of information, and it is significant. Reuters is reporting that the female shooter, Tashfeen Malik, married to Syed Farook, pledged allegiance to ISIS, to the Islamic State, and that is really the clearest tie that we have so far as we work to confirm the details of this. And as I said, Reuters is reporting that, and they are leaning on a U.S. government source for that report so far. Let's talk about it. Let's bring in Julie Roginski, co-host of The Five, and Guy Benson, a political editor at townhall.com. Both are Fox News contributors. You know, we've heard the back and forth over the last couple of days. The president was asked about this while it was happening, and was concerned that it could be workplace violence. He said as late as yesterday that there was a possibility that this could be terrorism, but there was also a possibility it could be workplace violence. Julie, it feels like what everyone has seen written on the wall in this story may in fact be the case.
Yeah, look, I mean, with every moment that new facts come out, it certainly points to the fact that either she radicalized her husband or they were both radicalized at the same time, or he radicalized her. But the reality is, if you're pledging allegiance to ISIS, if the Reuters report is correct, of course it's terrorism, and signs did point to that way. Look, I think the president probably said what he said because he was holding off on any other statement pending information. I don't think, and I hope that's not the case, that the White House would downplay the fact that this was terrorism when all signs point to the fact that it is. But if it is terrorism, we need to call it for what it is, and we need to figure out how we address the problem of people who seem to be lone wolves, and especially an American-born man who seems to be radicalized, did not come here as a refugee, was born here, was a member of his community in California, and appears to have been as radicalized as anybody coming here from abroad.
I mean, the reality is, we know from James Comey that there are 900+ investigations into people in every state in this country right now, Guy. So it becomes a question of how you address it, how you talk about it, how you communicate all this to the American people. And the president has tread very lightly on it over the past 24 hours. That's his choice. Is it the right one?
Well, the president has been downplaying the threat of ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism for years at this point. So I think there will be some political fallout. And there'll be plenty of time to discuss that. What concerns me most now, Martha, is the report that I saw yesterday that broke in the New York Times, indicating that according to federal authorities, Mr. Farook was in contact over a span of years with known jihadist suspects, including at least one that was under surveillance by the FBI. And for the life of me, I don't understand, given the surveillance tools at our country's disposal, how is it that that did not raise red flags? How is this guy not on any watch list or under suspicion, or at least being looked into by authorities? Is the threat that broad that we lack the manpower to track down leads as hot as this one?
I mean, I think one of the issues, we look at what happened in Boston. You know, the FBI spoke to Tamerlan Tsarnaev twice. And then after that, he was able to travel to Russia. Clearly, we have an unwieldy terrorist watch list. And we're focused on so many. There are so many pieces of the puzzle out there, and you heard Tom Ridge. There's no way that we can follow every single one of these individuals and watch what they're doing. There are too many basements, there are too many garages in America to keep track of them all. And Julie, I wonder, you know, given that reality, which everyone you speak with, I would imagine, and you know, most of us, is incredibly anxious about what's going on in this country right now. And it doesn't feel like the president has the tone of the people on this, Julie.
Yeah, you know, I'm less concerned about the tone. I'm more concerned about what Guy just talked about and what you just alluded to, which is you're looking for needles in a haystack. It just takes one, and Tom Ridge alluded to that in your earlier interview. The reality is we have an expansive intelligence gathering system that's been in place since the Patriot Act was passed, and certainly right after 9/11, but yet you will always have the possibility of people slipping through the cracks. This is not somebody who's in even
but
a part of...
But you will hear, you know, if you talk to people in our intelligence agencies, they will tell you that they would like to have the handcuffs taken off, that there are things that they could do that they have not been able to do under this administration. And after Edward Snowden, they lost a number of those abilities. And so, Guy, is it time to revisit that? But, you know, and I think tone does matter, because it tells you the president's perspective on all this and whether or not he sees the urgency that others see.
tone reflects the president's priorities. So it does matter. I agree with you on that, Martha. On the question about an increased surveillance state, look, I would argue that it seems like the government at least had the tools to point to Mr. Farook if he was in contact with known jihadist suspects that were already being looked at by the FBI. Do we need to give the state even more power to surveil potentially Americans? This guy was a U.S. citizen. What I think something we ought to talk about is the seriousness of that phrase that gets tossed about sometimes, and it sounds trite, but see something, say something. People need to take that seriously.
You're so right. Thank you both. We got to go.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.